Something I want you to take away from this video is to be able to build a contention statement that is complete and a solid foundation for your essay. A lot of times when I'm asking students what they're trying to say in a specific section of an essay, they can't really explain it, but instead they're trying to explain the evidence that they're using in that section. What you need to bear in mind is that teachers and examiners need to be able to follow your logic back to the contention at any given point in your essay. This has to be the case whether it's a topic that you have prepared for or if it's one that you haven't been quite ready for. We'll be looking at this concept by looking at To Kill a Mockingbird, which is an iconic novel, probably the widest read novel about racism and racial inequality. The protagonist, Atticus Finch, is also probably one of the most famous literary heroes of the 20th century. The novel takes place in a fictional town, Macomb, Alabama, that is based on the author Harper Lee's hometown. Part 1 deals with Jem and Scout Finch's upbringing and the moral lessons they pick up from their father and their neighbours. Part 2 deals with the trial of Tom Robinson, a black man convicted of rape despite overwhelming evidence that he is innocent. Atticus is in many ways the moral centre of the novel, tying the values and messages from Part 1 into the trial. If you're somebody who's in year 11 or younger studying this text, then I just want to send out a token of appreciation for you. You're doing a really great job, even just by looking up more about your text by watching this video. I think if you continue on this pathway in terms of your English studies, I have no doubt that you're going to do very well for yourself. And if you're in year 12 watching this video just because you wanted to uptake different interpretations and different methods of tackling essay prompts, then a big, massive shout out to you as well. The topic we'll be looking at today is To Kill a Mockingbird is a story of courage. Discuss. So courage is the key word here, and the way we define it will shape our entire discussion. It generally means bravery and fearlessness, but what kinds of courage are explored in the novel? It could be anything from courage to do the right thing, or courage to tell the truth, or courage to treat people with dignity, even when you don't know if they'll treat you the same way. For a prompt like this, you start by building your contention based on these definitions. And this is handy if you're better prepared for another theme. Let's say you're better prepped to write an essay on discrimination. You could contend that the novel is indeed about courage, as Atticus not only teaches it to his children, but also applies it to his defense of Tom Robinson in the face of structural racism. However, courage is also linked more broadly to empathy, which is explored as a panacea for discrimination. A complete contention like this breaks up the points neatly, but also grounds everything you have to say in an essay that still addresses the question and the idea of courage. For example, paragraph 1 could start by looking at the forms of courage he teaches to his children. Part 1, the more moralistic and didactic section of the novel, ends with the idea that real courage isn't a man with a gun, but rather when you know you're licked before you begin anyway and you see it through no matter what. The section is characterized by these lessons of real courage. While Atticus one-shot Finch downplays his marksmanship, he focuses the children's moral instruction on characters such as Mrs. Dubose, who he admires as courageous for fighting her morphine addiction. The next paragraph would look at Atticus's actions and also the trial in a bit more detail, as he embodies this idea that real courage exists outside of physical daring. In the racist milieu of the Deep South at the time, juries rarely decide in favor of a colored man over a white man. Yet, Atticus is determined to defend Tom even at the steep cost of his own personal honor or reputation. Not only does he teach his children about the importance of courage, but he goes on to exemplify those very lessons himself. Courage in this case reflects his commitment to the truth and to defending the innocent. This boy is not going till the truth is told. However, in the final paragraph, we might take a bit of a turn. Atticus, in having courage to see Tom as an equal, is probably reflecting another very important value in the novel, namely empathy. Though he admires Mrs. Dubose for her real courage, the white camellia he gives to Jem represents the goodness he sees within her, despite her discriminatory attitudes. Though Jem struggles to empathize with the old devil, Atticus posits that it takes a degree of courage to the bigger person and see the best in others, rather than repeating cycles of discrimination and prejudice. The idea of empathy as a form of courage is also reflected in what he teaches them about Boo Radley. When Scout is terrified by the idea that he'd given her a blanket without her realizing, she nearly threw up. Yet Atticus maintains the importance of empathizing with people, climbing into another man's shoe and walking around in it, rather than ostracizing them. In other words, he sees empathy as a form of courage in being the first to break social stigmas and overcome the various forms of discrimination that separate us. Now, to touch base again with the takeaway message. We contended that the novel is about courage because Atticus teaches it to Scout and Jem while also representing it in the trial. We also contended that courage is linked to empathy, another key value that he imparts as it helps to overcome social barriers like discrimination. The aim was to build an essay on a contention that clearly props up the body of the essay itself, even when we're more confident with some of the other themes, and I think this plan does a really good job of doing that. I wanted to give a massive shout out to Mark Yin, who's one of my Lisa Study Guide's tutors, for writing up this script, and let me know down in the comment section below. What other arguments would you have written up for this particular essay prompt? I'm really looking forward to seeing your feedback and your interaction in the comments below, and see you guys next time.